11 p.m. on the hour. You're now with me, Douglas Elliott, for TVS Nightline. The headlines. Thousands of Malaysians stand in solidarity with Palestine as Prime Minister reiterated Malaysia's support for the country. UN calls for immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. And Lina's operating license renewed till March 2026. Good evening. Thousands of Malaysians gathered at the Axiata Arena in Bukit Jalil to show support to Palestine as part of the Malaysia Stands with Palestine rally. Like a white sea, participants came wearing white clothing in solidarity with the Palestinians who suffered from the brutal attacks by the Israeli regime. The rally began with mass Maghrib prayers and Salat Hajat to pray for the well-being of the people of Palestine. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim reiterated Malaysia's support to defend the Palestine people's rights and once again called on all Malaysians to express a strong stance as a united and cohesive force in condemning the Zionist regime's atrocities against Palestine. Anwar also noted that Malaysia is highly respected by the Arab countries for taking the lead in highlighting the Israel-Palestine conflict. Meanwhile, the United Nations Rights Chief has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza as its residents face bombardments from the Israeli forces. A spokesperson of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights said the first step must be saving the lives of civilians through the delivery of prompt and effective humanitarian aid.
The first step must be an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, saving the lives of civilians through the delivery of prompt and effective humanitarian aid throughout Gaza, provided according to need and not limited by any other arbitrary criteria. This violence will never end unless leaders stand up and take the brave and humane choices that are required by fundamental humanity.
The international community remains divided towards a potential halt to the fighting despite the need for aid to reach Palestinians in Gaza. Israel has cut off supplies of water, electricity, fuel, and food in response to the attack. The Health Ministry in Gaza said Monday that more than 5,000 people have been killed in the enclave since Israel launched the bombing campaign.
Far too many civilians, many of them children, have already been lost on both sides as a consequence of these hostilities. And unless something changes, coming days will see more civilians on the brink of death from the continuing bombardment. Humanity must come first.
In local news, Premier of Sarawak Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg attended the meeting with Menteri Besars and Chief Ministers at the Prime Minister's office in Putrajaya earlier today. During the meeting, Abang Johari provided a short yet comprehensive briefing on Sarawak's economic sustainability and the development of a green economy in the state. The meeting's agenda encompassed various aspects, including the state's development over the past 60 years and its forward-looking policies as outlined in the Post-COVID-19 Development Strategy 2030.
Abang Johari also shared information on Sarawak's high-income status and the development of renewable energy during the 2.5-hour meeting chaired by Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Previously, Abang Johari had delivered a similar briefing to the Federal Cabinet during their session in Kuching in conjunction with Malaysia Day in September. Accompanying Abang Johari to the meeting was the State Secretary, Dato' Amar Muhammad Abu Bakar Marzuki.
Petroleum Sarawak Berhad Petros sponsored RM500,000 for the upcoming Sarawak Regatta and the International Dragon Boat Race 2023. The check was presented by its chairman Tan Sri Dato' Amar Dr. Hamid Bugo to the Minister of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts, Dato' Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, at operations and involvement of the private sectors in the state tourism event will further boost its organization.
We are here today. I'm very happy to acknowledge the presence of Petros. They are helping us in a lot of ways. The organizing committee is the resident office. The ministry is here to facilitate. And here we are. The chairman of Petros is down here to assist us in making sure that this regatta and international dragon boat race that we are organizing this year will be a grand success. Jadi saya ingin mengucapkan setinggi-tinggi terima kasihlah kepada Petros dan juga kepada tim Petros ini kerana telah bersetuju untuk menyumbang dalam CSR mereka untuk menyemarakkan lagi suasana produk pelancongan kita iaitu Regatta Sarawak.
Additionally, he said the events not only attract international and domestic tourist arrivals, but also adds to the celebratory atmosphere at Kuching waterfront.
From the private sectors to help us in one of the main tourism products, the main event for tourism in Sarawak, that is the Sarawak Regatta, as well as the International Dragon Boat Festival, which will be held this weekend and continuing into the first week of November. That 1 week event is we'll see the Kuching waterfront, that is the venue of the regatta, as well as the International Dragon Boat Festival. We'll see a hive of activities. It's not just about regatta, it's not about International Dragon Boat Festival, but there are lots of sales. There's Sarawak Kitchen, they've got handicraft sales, and normally the sales for that 1 week will go into the millions.
Sarawak has no plans to build new racing circuits in the state at the moment. Instead, it is shifting its attention to fixing and upgrading the existing facilities. Minister of Youth, Sports and Entrepreneur Development Sarawak, Dato' Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, said while he is supportive of the development of motorsports in the state, the government is level-headed in its decision to prevent overspending.
We will consider to upgrade the existing one and make it be better, but there is no planning to have too many litar lomba. I know those youngsters might not like this kind of comment from me. I know, I'm very sure. But I will say what I have to say. I will say what I have to say when it comes to this. Sibu, walaupun kita tidak ada litar untuk laju, baik laju, tapi kita ada motocross. Di Sibu Jaya, litar motocross kita ada.
He added the building of a new racing circuit would cost millions of ringgit, which is better spent on the development of sports that are competed at the international level, such as the Olympics, Asian sports, and Southeast Asia Sea sports. Currently, Sarawak has 2 racing circuits, one in Kuching and one in Miri.
A student in Cebu was lured into an online part-time job scam advertised on a WhatsApp group, ultimately losing a total of over 13,000 ringgit. Cebu Police Chief ACP Zulkifli Suhaili said the victim, a student at a private university, filed a police report in Cebu town on Monday.
A student enticed by a WhatsApp group promising high commissions for a part-time job joined and invested money in online schemes. Initially, he received a commission of 319 ringgit, but the group then pressured him to invest more. In total, he invested 13,180 ringgit before the group abruptly stopped contact, leaving the student realizing he had been scammed. He reported the incident to the Cebu police. The case is being investigated under Section 420 of the Penal Code for fraud. Meanwhile, a housewife from Miri lost 6,000 ringgit when she fell prey to a fraudulent part-time job offer advertised on Facebook. Miri's OCPD ACP Alexa Nagachabu revealed that the victim was deceived by a syndicate operating on social media platforms, promising lucrative part-time opportunities. While browsing social media, she stumbled upon a Facebook ad offering part-time work. She was instructed to register her personal details on a CD website and was assigned various tasks, primarily liking items on the website in exchange for promising commissions. The victim dutifully made payments to 4 different bank accounts between October 19 and 21st for every task she completed. However, after receiving her commission for the first assignment, she didn't receive any more payments for subsequent tasks, including the 7th commission. Realizing she had been scammed, the victim reported the incident to the police on October 23rd. The case is being investigated under Section 420 of the Penal Code.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim once again made a clear stance to fight against the oppressive forces of Israel during his 2-day visit to Egypt to meet with the country's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The sufferings of Palestinians were one of the main agendas that was discussed between the two leaders, and a conclusive decision was made, and that is to eradicate all party that threatens the peace and sovereignty of Palestine.
Both Anwar and Fattah deemed that Western countries are responsible for the intensifying attacks in Gaza and should play their part to achieve ceasefire. Palestine is currently in dire conditions, unfit for survival since the brutal attack began on October 7. Essential infrastructures such as schools, hospitals to the largest bakeries have been destroyed in recent attacks, a major violation of human rights policy that has been perpetrated by organizations like the European Union, EU, and the United Nations, UN. Both leaders met for the first time since taking the helm, as respective leaders of their country also discussed effective methods to channel provisions and aid securely to Palestinians who are deprived of their needs. Besides the Palestinian struggle, Anwar and Fatah also recurring issues in the Middle East and how Malaysia could help to remedy the situation, especially economically. This will mainly involve international trade between the two countries, and Anwar has instructed a task force to discuss the matter in detail during their next meeting.
Malaysia proposes a regional integration to reduce social differences and trading restrictions between countries in Asia. Deputy Prime Minister Dato Sri Fadillah Yusof said the integration will enable active participation by all Asian countries to spur economic growth in the region, which ultimately can create employment opportunities for the masses, especially in the green energy sector that is spearheaded by several countries in the region.
Cumulatively, Asia has a total of 4.7 billion population with a gross domestic product GDP of more than 41.3 trillion US dollars, which Fadillah said holds the potential to become the world's leading economic center.
Moving forward, we must cooperate strategically in the transportation sector, which is essential for sustaining economic growth for our mutual benefits.
He added that Malaysia has invested largely in sustainability, especially in transportation, to help reduce greenhouse gas emission. Projects like the Intercity Railway Network and the East Coast Rail Link ECRL are testimony to such initiative.
The ECRL aligns with the NTP's goal to shift heavy goods transportation from road to rail, significantly reducing greenhouse gas emission. And the government also promotes the adoption of electric vehicles or EVs and invites stakeholders to participate by investing in EV infrastructure and adoption in Malaysia.
Additionally, Fadillah said Malaysia is committed to reducing carbon and greenhouse emissions by 45% based on the GDP by 2030 compared to 2005's GDP.
Malaysia will not implement an end-of-life vehicle policy for all vehicles due to its impracticality. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said such a policy could not be implemented as it takes into account the socio-economic needs of the country as well as the people's dependence on private vehicles. Rather, the government encourages the people to move towards carbon-free electric vehicle or EV ownership or public transportation use.
Berkenaan dengan kereta-kereta lama, memang kalau kita buat satu dasar yang tidak membenarkan kenderaan lama, itu akan memberikan kesusahan kepada rakyat. Ia akan menyusahkan rakyat. Jadi kita kena faham juga keadaan sosioekonomi dalam negara kita. Apa sahaja perubahan, walaupun kita mahu menjurus ke arah sustainability, mengurangkan carbon emission, tetapi dasar-dasar yang perlu kita laksanakan mesti juga mengambil kira keadaan sosioekonomi dalam negara kita.
Speaking at the sideline of the 15th Regional Environmentally Sustainable Transport Forum in Asia on Tuesday, Loke said in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals SDG towards a carbon emission-free country by 2030, the government will continue to invest in the public transportation system and introduce new initiatives such as the Electric Motorcycle Usage Incentive Scheme to encourage EV adoption.
This is to phase out some of the older bikes. Okay, ini untuk motorbike lah. Of course, moving forward, we are also looking at other options, not only motorbikes, but also probably going into vehicles as well, cars as well. So those are the things that we have to transition.
Linas Malaysia's operating license has been renewed, allowing the company to continue importing and processing raw materials containing naturally occurring radioactive materials until March of 2026. Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Chang Lee Kang said the consideration made on Monday by the Atomic Energy Licensing Board also allowed cracking and leaching activities to continue subject to certain conditions.
Dan kami mengambil masa beberapa bulan untuk due diligence untuk just mengesahkan sama ada proposal ini boleh dijalankan atau tidak. Dan semalam AELB telah pun membuat keputusan dan bahawa cara thorium extraction itu boleh dilaksanakan. Dan ini juga selaras dengan maklumat keputusan AELB sebelum ini, iaitu yang satu, tidak membenarkan lagi pengumpulan sisa radiatif secara berterusan di tanah air kita. Yang kedua, selesaikan sisa radiatif yang sudah wujud sejak pengoperasian liners.
The updated terms and conditions include ensuring the radioactive content in the water leach purification residue is below 1 becquerel per gram through a research and development R&D program led by local experts. The decision by the board was also made based on the findings of preliminary research at the laboratory level, which showed that thorium radioactive material can be extracted from the water leach purification residue. With this development, he said the operations comply with legal controls and protect the interests of the people. Subsequently, the country will be able to attract high-value investments in the local rare earth industry to support the manufacturing industry of advanced high-tech materials.
Indonesia's constitutional court has set up a panel to investigate a suspected conflict of interest in a court ruling last week, clearing the way for a son of President Joko Widodo to run for vice president in an election next year. The expected registration of the president's 36-year-old son, Gibran Raka Buming Raka, as a running mate for the favorite to become the next president has raised concerns of a resurgence of patronage politics in a country that emerged from authoritarian rule 25 years ago.
Gibran's bid to become vice president was enabled by a constitutional court ruling, removing a minimum age requirement of 40 for presidential or vice presidential candidates, on the condition they have been elected to regional posts. Indonesia's constitutional court said it had received 7 complaints filed by activists and others of a suspected ethical violation in connection with the ruling last week by a 9-judge bench. The court once said the complainant called for the court's Chief Justice, Anwar Usman, who is the president's brother-in-law and Gibran's uncle, to step down. Meanwhile, Jokowi, as the president is popularly known, must step down after serving a maximum 2 terms. He has brushed off fears that he is building a political dynasty, saying the people will decide with their votes. Gibran has been named as the vice presidential candidate of Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto, who is leading in opinion polls to win the election in February. The two are expected to register as candidates with the Election Commission on Wednesday.
Several people are missing after 2 freighters collided on Tuesday near the German North Sea island of Heligoland. The Central Command for Maritime Emergencies said the Policies and Verity vessels collided at around 3 a.m. local time, about 22 kilometers southwest of Heligoland.
The Central Command added 1 person was rescued from the water and is receiving medical treatment, while several others are still missing. The rescue operation includes a rescue cruiser, police boats, a sensor aircraft, and a helicopter, among other vessels. According to the authorities, the Polizei, which was carrying 22 passengers, is still waterborne. The Verity was on its way from Bremen in Germany to the English town of Immingham. The Polizei was sailing from Hamburg, Germany to La Coruna in Spain.
And that's all the updates for TVS Nightline. I'm Douglas Elliott. Thank you for watching.